You know, I've told you this before, when there's a classic movie that's actually memorable, and you know what, this movie deserves a sequel. So you know what, we finally have it, the sequel to it, where nobody asked for it. And when I watch the sequel, it's just very similar to the first movie.
Like we used to do.
Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is a sequel, a standalone sequel to the first Jumanji movie, which was released 22 years ago, and this movie stars Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Gillan, Kevin Hart, and Nick Jonas. Now in this movie, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle tells the story of 4 teenagers who were punished for many reasons in school, and then they were told to detention, and then they found this game called Jumanji, which is in the form of a video game where the game sets you into a world that you must play throughout adventures. And now that they're stuck inside the video game, now they have to work together in order to save Jumanji from the evil Von Pelt and finish the game once and for all. Now, to be honest, I did manage to watch the first Jumanji movie in order to understand what does the first movie look like. And however, when I watched the second movie, it was very similar, I have to say. So I'll get to that part later because I really enjoyed the first movie, even though it's a little bit terrible, but also it's family friendly. And finally, I get my chance to see the second movie. I felt like, wow, I think I really enjoyed this movie. Now let's talk about the beginning to the end. So from the beginning of the movie, we get to see a brief explanation, which there's actually like a backstory of what happened back in years, like 21 years ago. And then suddenly we get to see stories of the 4 teenagers who are doing their thing in high school, and then they're being punished for bad things, and now they have to go to detention, and then they discover the game Jumanji, and then they start playing it. And then throughout the middle of the movie, this is when they start having their doing it together. This is when they start teaming up together, and then they've been going through bad things, and now they must work together as they're doing their adventures. And suddenly they meet a new character, which is a character I'll explain later on and throughout the review. And then in the end of the movie, we get to see, like, you know, it's like that goodbye, that farewell, that finally you finish the game and it's time to say goodbye, all those memorable things. And this is where they start gathering together their friendship. This is when their friendship becomes strong. You know, their friendship, they start uniting together after all the good things they've been happening. And what happened to Jumanji? Oh, you know what? Destroy it. Forget the game. Jumanji is no more. Now I have to say this, but first of all, I want to get to the point that this movie was a little bit similar. You know, however, Jumanji was actually an enjoyable movie back in 1995. It was one of the classics that become a family enjoyable movie that you can watch with the family. And suddenly then there's a sequel for it, which I was not sure if it's a good idea having a sequel in. And suddenly people are saying that the sequel are good. And when I watch it, I was very surprised about how the sequel are going to bring with the first movie. I'll tell you what. So basically, I'm not going to spoil too much about this movie, but there's some similar things. There's some similar characteristics as long as it relates to the original. So the difference is that Jumanji was once in a board game, and you know what, no one plays board game anymore, so they had the idea of turning it into a video game, because nowadays people play video game, and you know what, let's make Jumanji into a video game where you can do all the things in real life that become a death match, a that challenging thing that you might want to be careful with. However, I also like lots of things about this movie. The sequel really did great with the first. I mean, they really I also respect the original, the first movie, and now with the sequel is a standalone sequel, and there are many things you can expect. It's very different. You don't get all those elements, but you get a little bit of the elements of what it is. For example, like one of the characters, one of the villains, and all the animals that you see, and all the settings. You know, it's kind of like you see in the first movie, it's like, oh, you see the board game, but you don't see much. And this is what it feels like when you're inside that game. Just imagine it. And then, I mean, there are lots of things I like. For example, like the humor. I like the humor in this movie. However, this is a PG-13 movie, so you want to be careful for all the inappropriate jokes. I mean, there's a lot. I laughed a lot throughout the movie. This humor is great. I really love the humor. The score, I also did enjoy. Henry Jackman did a great job doing the score of this movie. And also there are all the elements which I really enjoy. I really like the humor. I really like the storyline, like how they portray the characters each other. And it's very good. You know, I really love everything about the movie. Even though it's very similar to the first movie, I say the second one was also stunning. Now let's talk about the characters. So first of all, the characters, we start off with 4 teenagers. Now let's start off with Spencer. Now Spencer is actually the smart character. He's actually like the main protagonist in the story. And however, he then plays the game and he becomes The Rock, which is basically Dr. Bravestone. Now he's basically like the bad A character in this movie, and I really love how The Rock, you know, show his style in this movie. Like, he's bad A, he can kick butt in this movie. However, there's some great jokes in this movie, like he punches up and all that. And yeah, he really did great with this movie. And I like how they portray the characters, you know, connecting to the teenagers from the real life characters all the way to the video game character. And then we have Fridge, which actually becomes Kevin Hart's character. I forgot his name, Kevin Hart, but however, he's basically like this backpack guy who he carries around The Rock's weapon. And there's also some funny things, like for example, there are funny things where he argued about his weakness, and then there's some parts where he did some hilarious moments in this movie. Like there's lots of funny moments with this guy, and you know, his weakness is cake and his weakness is strength. Like he keeps arguing, and he argues all the things that he's been handling, and he can't run and all that. I mean, I like how he relates to the character, like it's very different. And then we have this introvert character named Martha, who, yeah, Martha is kind of like an introvert, I think, and then she becomes this strong bad A girl named played by Karen Gillan, and that is Ruby Roundhouse. I was very stunned by how Karen Gillan portrays as Ruby Roundhouse, like all the awkward moments that she did, and also all the awesome things where she kicked butts, even though her weakness is like Venom. But there were also some great moments with this character. I really like her character. Like it was very enjoyable, and it was awesome to see her playing in that style. And then we also got Bethany, who is this Instagram model, and suddenly she becomes an overweight man played by Jack Black. And however, I like how Jack Black tries to relate with the girl. Like, you know, I find it awkward when a girl plays as a boy, and now the boy tries to do awkward things relating to a girl, and that's how it did. I mean, Jack Black did great portraying her character, and Jack Black tries to relate with the girl herself, and suddenly Jack Black, he, like, you know, it's very moment. It's awkward, but yeah, he did great in this movie. And then we get Nick Jonas. Nick Jonas plays as Alex. Now, Alex has a connection with the first and the ending, which is why it's kind of similar to the first movie, like I said. And however, he's like the fifth character. You know, there's like four characters, like four teenagers, and there must be another character. You know, that character got taken, and that's Alex. Alex, who's played by Nick Jonas. And Nick Jonas, who's basically like the seaplane, and seaplane, something like this pilot, and I really like it. I mean, he's a really great character. He's a nice character, even though he's awesome. The villain here is Von Pelt. Now, Von Pelt is very different from the first movie. From the first movie, he's kind of like this old man who's basically like a hunter, and then he just kill things because that's what he do. In this movie, he's more of a very stunning character. He's a more vicious character, where he basically touches this emerald, and then suddenly he has the power to control animals, and then he suddenly told his guards to, like, you know, attack the guys and that, and suddenly he's very vicious. You know, he uses his emerald, and he's like more powerful and all that, and there's not much we can do with this character. I have to say this, but Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is a sequel that has the fun and games which brings back the classics. I really love the first movie as well. I really did watch the first movie, and it was also enjoyable, but the sequel also did great. However, I tell you what, this is my last movie I saw in theaters, but don't worry, that's not my last movie I saw in theaters in this year. However, my last movie I'll be reviewing is Bright, which is a Netflix movie that I'm still going to review in this movie, but I'm not sure of what critics are saying. However, I also want to show you this. But yeah, that was my review on Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. Have you seen it? What did you think of the movie? Tell me in the comments below. And yeah, happy holidays to all of you. And that was my review on Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. Here's the outro. That is all for this video. If you do enjoy this video, give it a like. That would be very helpful. And in the description, you'll find 2 links so you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Google+. I appreciate you guys for watching this, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.